Hello there. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're talking about management concepts and practice in sport organizations. So organizations associated with sports surround us. Most children develop sport skills in school physical education courses, intramural activities, and inter-school competitions within the education system. They may also take advantage of community sports organized by local governments and nonprofit sport clubs. For highly skilled competitive athletes, opportunities are available in college and university sport programs. And of course, you have amateur sport organizations and professional sport. Other types of organizations provide us with opportunities for passive participation in sport. For example, media organizations, web-based, television, radio, and print keep us informed about sport in various ways. We can attend sport competitions at our community gathering places, in school facilities, and in professional sport venues. Anyone who consumes sport either actively or passively will be exposed to many different types of organizations. Daft in 2016 defined organizations as social entities that are goal-oriented, are designed as deliberately structured and coordinated activity systems, and are linked to the external environment. Coordinated actions lead to the creation of social entities or organizations in which people work collectively to achieve goals. In essence, people work collectively because achieving goals is often easier when working together rather than working independently. Here it is conceptualized that a variety of people and groups work collectively. One person would almost certainly be unable to perform all the tasks and responsibilities required for the baseball organization to achieve its goals and objectives. But by working collectively, they can reach those organizational objectives. Organizations can achieve economies of scale and economies of scope. According to Daft in 2016, economies of scale represent savings that originate from the mass production of goods and services, increasing the scale of operations. As an organization produces more goods and services, it can realize savings by buying raw materials in larger volume and by maximizing the use of specialized labor or machinery in producing, distributing, and selling these products and services. Economies of scale, on the other hand, can result in improved efficiencies within an organization. A greater volume of production and distribution, for instance, would enhance the skills of employees in carrying out those tasks. Economies of scope represent savings originating from maximization of resources used throughout the organization. Scope refers to economies by having a number and variety of products and services, or by operating in a number and variety of regions, countries, and markets. An organization that has a large scope will be better equipped to realize economies by being able to service more clients and more markets. Organizations are vehicles to achieve goals. In their quest to achieve goals, organizations secure inputs and transfer them into outputs. Organizations obtain inputs such as financial resources, human resources, raw material, expertise, and knowledge from the external environment. They then transform those inputs through knowledge through the skills and abilities of employees and to produce outputs such as goods and services sought by consumers. An organization also produces other outputs such as dividends for shareholders and salaries for employees. As identified in Chapter 1 and Figure 1.1, there are three types of sport organizations. Public organization. These entities make up this type of organization include federal and state government agencies or units, as well as regional and local government departments, responsible for the delivery of recreation and sport programs and the maintenance of sport fields and arenas, swimming pools and parks. Nonprofit organizations, on the other hand, are referred to as volunteer or voluntary organizations. Volunteer executives are responsible for the operation and management of the organizations. They may hire paid staff to assist and carry out day-to-day operations, but the volunteer executives are ultimately in charge of making decisions and setting the strategic direction for the organization. Commercial organizations the main goal is to make a profit. Professional sports teams are commercial organizations. Sport equipment manufacturers and retailers are commercial organizations as well. Organizations that offer sport or sport-related services such as sport agencies, private golf clubs, downhill ski and snowboard resorts, fitness clubs, tennis and racket clubs, bowling clubs, and bungee jumping and wall climbing facilities also typically operate as commercial organizations. Finally, sport broadcast and media companies and companies that own and manage sport facilities and events are all commercial for-profit businesses. All organizations operate in an environment, and as Daft in 2016 explained, the environment is composed of all elements that exist outside the boundary of an organization and have the potential to affect all or part of the organization. The environment can be divided into two categories, general and specific. The general environment includes the following elements that may not have a direct effect on the day-to-day operations of the organization, but may nonetheless influence the organization. The economic conditions affect the way organizations operate. How do economic downturns affect sport organization? For example, how and why does fan purchase behavior change during a recession? How do interest rates affect the organization's ability to acquire the inputs necessary for the fabrication of its products? Technology has a powerful effect on most organizations. For example, how do computers, software, cellular phones, and the internet help the organization reach more consumers, maintain more accurate records of inventory, communicate with their suppliers, facilitate employee communication and coordination, and monitor purchasing patterns? How does technology help the organization develop more and better products? The political climate affects organization. As an example, the development of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, between the United States, Canada, and Mexico in the 1990s has facilitated trade among three countries over the past few decades. Social and cultural forces and demographic changes can affect organizations. The age structure, the level of education, the standard of living of the population are examples of social, cultural, and demographic environments. Stakeholders play an important role in an organization's environment. The specific environment or task environment includes stakeholders who are internal and external to the organization. Stakeholders are individuals or groups that can affect or be affected by the organization or business. These include owners and stockholders, employees, customers, creditors, management, government, union, community, and suppliers. Even within the specific environment, there are primary stakeholders, those who engage in economic exchanges with an organization or business, and secondary stakeholders, those who affect or are affected by the actions and practices of the business or organization. Clearly, the environment significantly influences and represents a major source of uncertainty for an organization. As a result, leaders and managers must understand the environment and carefully monitor its effects on the organization. The effectiveness of an organization is the extent to which it achieves its goals. A related term, efficiency, refers to the achievement of goals using minimal resources. Efficiency implies the minimal use of resources to produce outputs. As a result, concepts of cost benefit, return on investment, and budget compared with number of customers served are assessed to evaluate efficiency. Achieving effectiveness is easier than achieving efficiency. In fact, most managers and leaders of organizations rarely achieve efficiency. In sum, effectiveness focuses on results, whereas efficiency focuses on activities. The managers and leaders of organizations use strategies or plans to cope with the environment. A plan is a course of action or a direction in which to move the organization from one point to another. Organizations undertake the process of developing a strategy to gain a competitive advantage over competitors. Organizations may achieve this advantage by acquiring scarce resources. For sport organizations, scarce resources may be financial resources, sponsorship opportunities, media visibility, participants or athletes, clients, members and fans, market share, equipment, or facilities. Access to these resources can lead to success in sport competitions or greater profits because of increased fan attendance at games or increased sales or products. Sport strategies are extremely important for leaders and managers because they outline the major direction and future activities of the organization. As such, strategies serve as roadmaps for organizations. The development of a plan includes the following 4 steps: identifying the goals and objectives and mission of the organization. The strategy must be congruent with the goals, objectives, and mission. Determining the strategic objectives. This step involves assessing what the organization wants to achieve with the strategy and includes the SWOT analysis. As you'll learn in Chapter 12, a SWOT analysis consists of an assessment of the strengths and weaknesses of the organization and opportunities and threats in the organization's environment. Identifying the resources required to implement the strategy. Without adequate resources, the organization will find it difficult to implement the strategy. Establish a timeline and identifying milestones. A timeline is used for implementing the strategy, and milestones aid in assessing whether the organization is on target to achieve its objectives. Culture in organizations defined organizational culture as a pattern of basic assumptions invented, discovered, or developed by a given group as it learns to cope with its problems of external adaptation and internal integration. Shine explained that organizations consider this set of assumptions valid and as a result promote them to new members as the appropriate and correct ways to act in the workplace. Daft explained that the organizational culture is unwritten but can be observed in its stories, its slogans, ceremonies, dress, and office layout. Culture manifests in different ways throughout organizations, such as through stories and myths, symbols, language, ceremonies, and rites, physical settings, and symbolic artifacts. Stories and myths are narratives that can be based on truth, fiction, or a combination of the two. Symbols consist of events and objects or acts that convey meanings for the organization. Organizational logos, slogans, and mission statements are symbols. Language refers to the terminology and jargon that organizational members use to communicate with each other. Ceremonies and rites include social events and awards and recognition events that leaders organize. These events often reinforce organizational values. Physical settings include the office space and objects found in the organization. Artifacts are items found in the organization's physical setting. Photographs of past successes, banners, copies of past marketing campaigns, and display of awards and achievements. The development of partnerships, also known as interorganizational relationships or strategic alliances with other organizations, as a strategy to retain or gain a competitive advantage. All types of sport organizations, public, nonprofit, and commercial, are increasingly involved in alliances with other organizations to capitalize on opportunities and access more resources, to increase programs, services, and products offered to members or clients, and to reduce uncertainty. In the context of sports, several researchers have applied the work of Oliver on the organizational motives behind the creation of partnerships. Oliver uncovered 6 motives leading organizations to collaborate. We're going to stop there today. We'll pick up on this in part 2, where we're talking about organizational change. I'll talk with you soon. Have a great day.